like somebody has a case of the Mondays. Yeah, have you seen the cruise news? Wow. Can cruise lines survive sailing at reduced capacity? That's the big question going forward. Plus, it's all breaking loose in Europe. Let's jump into the dumpster and dig through the bags of garbage to see if we accidentally lost our car keys there in today's episode of the Lido Loca Cruise Show. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Tony. If you enjoyed the cruise news updates, please consider subscribing with the notification bell on. That way you don't miss out on any of the episodes. Well, let me just preface it. Let me just give the caveat emptor right at the beginning. Not a lot of great news today. I know not everybody's into challenging news, but sometimes that's all you got. Sometimes all you can do is dig through the piles of the links and the Googles, and it's just not great news. But such is cruising right now, and if you love cruising, well, you gotta wade through it, because this is going to make us appreciate the journey once we get on the other side. I hope. Let's start with the big story that we closed out with last week. Grauguin has had an outbreak on their cruise ship, the Roald Amundsen. When I left you last, the number was 4 crew members testing positive, and Grauguin scrambling to reach out to passengers that was on that vessel to say, hey, you may want to get tested. Well, that has begun, and the numbers that I have this morning, 36 crew members and 4 passengers now testing positive. All eyes looking at the leadership of Grauguin, and this is what their CEO had to say. CEO Daniel Skjeldum said a preliminary evaluation shows that there has been a failure in several of our internal procedures. How about that? I'm sure Daniel enjoyed jumping out making that statement. He also added this nugget of assurance that they are now in the process of a full review of all procedures and all aspects of our own handling. Yeah, it's got to be a tough position, obviously. But to no surprise, the world is watching. These leaders, they got to realize that they're going to have to be on point with the messaging, and saying oopsie, I don't know, is going to cut it. A lot of people concerned over there in Norway. We have our friends, the midlife cruisers over there. I've been getting some information from Gear, and he said that it's a mixed bag of nothing good over there, as they're trying to unravel the mystery of what happened on Roald Amundsen, trying to figure out where the points of breakdown are, and trying to get from the leadership there at Grauguin a solid answer. But yeah, the number keeps rising. Woohoo! When I closed out the last show, I did ask the question, would Grauguin be hurting cruising in Europe? And maybe. We haven't seen it all completely shut down yet, but we have a update when it comes to Aida cruises. That's a Carnival Corporation cruise line. They were scheduled to start cruising early in August, and now they have canceled their first 2 cruises. There's a lot going on with Aida. Also, you may have seen it, 10 crew members reporting to the Aida cruise ship when tested showed up positive for the virus, but it is not those test results that are causing the cancellations of the first 2 cruises. It's a country thing. Anybody that likes the flags of convenience conversation, this is an interesting story. Aida Aperla and Aida Mar, they are going to be cruising in Germany. They were scheduled to go out on August the 5th and August the 12th. However, they're not flagged in Germany. They're flagged in Italy. Now, they're going out in Germany, but they're flagged in Italy. And so Italy has said, we're not ready for cruise ships that fly our flag. We're not ready for them to start cruising again. So boom, even though they're not cruising there, they're able to shut down the cruising in Germany because of the way they are flagged. Interesting. The flag of convenience seems inconvenient in this story. Italy not allowing the cruise ships to go off, and so the first 2 sailings of Aida's new August season have now been canceled. However, on August the 16th, Aida's Abula is a German flagged cruise ship, and it's good to go. August the 16th. So we thought we would see a Carnival Corporation cruise ship sailing in Germany in the first couple weeks of August. Nah, not gonna happen. So yeah, a couple more weeks till those cruises start again. And another update to a story from last week, Penant's cruise ship, Paul Gauguin, somebody on board is tested positive for the virus. While sailing in the Pacific, passengers have been told to remain in their cabin as the Paul Gauguin, which is docked in Papeete, Tahiti, has an outbreak. Details are still coming out. The report that I'm reading says that it is a crew member testing positive for the virus. Other reports say that possibly it is a passenger. This is probably the second or third cruising for the Gauguin as they started to sail again on July the 18th. There was a sailing on July the 18th, a sailing on the 29th of July, and now the Gauguin has returned to its home port to sort it out. We might as well keep the hits a-rolling. Another cruise line has canceled its cruising for 2020. This time, luxury cruise liner Crystal Cruises, operating 3 cruise ships, have decided that it's going to be a no-go for 2020. Citing the constantly changing variables that have gone along with 2020 and the challenges to international travel, they're saying it's just not worth the effort. They're going to try it again in 2021. For any guests scheduled with Crystal Cruises through the end of the year, the company will provide them with a credit equal to 125% of the total fare paid or fully paid reservations, along with a refund of port charges, taxes, and fees paid, and any air and hotel packages booked through Crystal. For guests that have not fully paid off their cruise, the credit will be based on what you've already paid. Now, in the Hey New York, don't you read the Boston newspaper news, there was a captain and ship owners arrested this week in New York for hosting a big old party on a boat. Another party boat story where a bunch of people went out on a party boat, no mask, no social distancing, having a good time, posting on social media, and doing it in a way where as soon as they returned to dock, the owner of the vessel and the captain were arrested specifically for defying social distancing mandates by taking all those people out on a booze cruise. This all occurred on the Liberty Belle, a 4-story riverboat that can hold about 600 passengers. Party that night was 1920s themed, kind of a great Gatsby deal where 170 people jumped on board for a good time. And again, the end result is the captain and the owner of the cruise ship getting cited for violation of the social distancing ordinances there in New York. Apparently, they did not learn from Prohibition in the 1920s that you can't be broadcasting all your fun and frivolity. Social media did them in. Okay, finally on to the good stuff. Finally, a positive cruise story. No, it's not that positive. But there is a question out there, will cruise lines be able to survive if sailing at reduced capacity? Well, we have one cruise line. Again, it's one of these companies that I don't know that you could call it a cruise company. One of these cruise lines going out of business because they just can't get enough people on their vessels. It's Seattle's Argosy Cruises closing for the 2020 season just because they can't get enough people to take these cruises. And it's a tour company, really. They put people on small boats. They take them around the Seattle area, and it's like a day cruise. They offer 7 cruiser routes around Seattle, and normally these vessels can accommodate 350 passengers, but during their reopening phase they've dropped this number down to 50 passengers, and now they're finding they can't even get 50 passengers to come on board. So with the lack of people engaged in this cruising activity and the reduction of passengers, they're closing down for the rest of the season. They just can't do it. It's not financially viable. They've been doing these cruises for 72 years. The operations manager there at Argosy said normally on the waterfront in the summer, it's just a bustle of activity. There's people walking up and down the sidewalks at all times. It's loud, it's busy, it's congested. There's just nobody down here. It's almost a ghost town. Even people selling CDs on the sidewalks have hardly shown up. You know you're in bad shape when you got the CD sellers not even showing up. You would have thought their business would have gone away with digital downloads. But while this is happening on a micro scale in Seattle, it does raise the question, when large cruise lines go to sail again, will they be able to make money and stay afloat with a reduced passenger load? Here's my opinion on it. I think initially the cruise lines will be forced to sail with a reduced capacity. This is going to be one of the stipulations to resume cruising. I'm thinking that they'll be sailing at a capacity where they can at least break even. At least that's the hope. Now, I don't know how profitable they'll be sailing at these reduced capacities, but hopefully the number they have to work with will at least help them cover expenses. Sometimes you're going to do business at a loss just to keep the business going. Famously, years ago, Walmart was selling toys at a loss so that they could get people in their Walmart stores opposed to going to Toys R Us. Businesses do that. They do run at a loss sometimes just to get the business, just to get revenues in to keep the business going. They'll operate at a loss for a period of time. I do believe that cruise ships will be doing that in the beginning, but is that viable for the long term? You can only run at a loss or run breaking even for a certain amount of time before it just just becomes untenable. But don't let me have the last word on it. There were a couple cruise executives that weighed in on this issue. During an interview, Frank Del Rio, the Norwegian Cruise Line Holding Group CEO, was talking specifically about reduced capacity. He said, one of the hallmarks of the cruise industry is that we always sail with full ships. It's one of the basic tenets of our business model. And he went on to say that lower capacities would be a severe blow to financial performance. The CEO of the Royal Caribbean Group, Richard Fain, was asked, could they take some of the things that are going on land, like reduced capacities, and apply them to the cruise ship? And he said that would be a simplistic approach to assume that you can simply take what happens on land and apply it onto the sea. So much of what we're watching when it comes to these cruise companies and their viability is how will they be able to operate under new health protocols, health regulations? Will they be able to find enough meat on the bone to keep these companies profitable, or will it be a losing proposition? Again, we don't really know until they restart. I'm sure things will be adjusted along the way. But as we've seen in today's news story, some of these companies trying to restart are already struggling. But they're not the sole story out there. We have to remember there are some shining beacons, at least for now. Mein Schiff 2 has completed cruises, and so far we haven't heard any bad news back from Mein Schiff 2. And so we keep our fingers crossed that we start to stack up some positive cruise stories versus some of these negatives. And we continue to hope that as some of these other cruise companies begin their restart, that it will go better. Thank you for watching the show. Please show your support by hitting the like button. My name's Tony for Lido Loca, and until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido. Bye.